I'm so sorry. I gotta pause it real quick.
Yeah, you're
I
fine.
forgot to plug in my computer, and that would have been bad if it like died. Right. I mean, I still have a while, but probably not long enough for the episode.
Especially when you're recording and taking up so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hello and welcome back to High Vibe Table Talks. I am your host, Rashawn Hargrave, and I'm so excited to have our guest today, Heather. Welcome, Heather. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are located, and who you serve.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me this morning. It's nice to meet you. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm an intuitive artist, and I help people heal through spirit portraits, therapeutic art, and color. So I'm always reading color, looking at color, and helping people sort of reconnect to themselves and their inner wisdom through therapeutic art.
That's amazing. I am so excited to chat today because when I was first introduced to you, you have what is called synesthesia.
Hmm.
And so, for those who are listening who don't know what that is, can you give us kind of a layman's terms about what that means?
Yeah, for sure. Synesthesia is sort of like this thing that happens in your brain when your senses get crossed. So for me, I hear anything that I take in, sound, scent, food, anything in my mind, I see it as color, shape, or form. So I'm always sort of seeing different images and shapes and colors moving through my mind's eye when I'm listening to music, tasting something, meeting someone, or what have you. And mine typically is through the form of color. And there are over 80 different kinds of synesthesia, and about 3 to 4% of the population have a form of synesthesia, and it's mostly artists, mostly people who write, paint, make music. I think it's just a creative sort of like little nuance in our brains.
Yeah, that's so interesting. The first time I ever heard that term was from Pharrell,
Yeah.
the artist, and I was like, that is so fascinating. So, can you tell us a little bit about like, because for you, that's just how your body is and how your brain works. And so, but like you said, 3 to 4% of the population has it. So 97% of people that you meet don't. So how
Hmm.
did you kind of learn to that was something most people don't have and that you could really tap into it, not as being something that's weird or odd. It's something that you can really lean into.
Yeah, that's a really great question. This has been with me since I was a little kid, and I would lay on the floor in my room and listen to music and draw what the music like looked like to me. And I thought everybody had it. It was like the kid who would be driving down the road and listening to music, and I would see in my mind like choreography and lines and colors and everything. And I really did believe that everybody did this too. It didn't feel like it was anything like special, so to speak. And it really wasn't until I was in my 40s that I learned what it was called. And then I went, oh, okay, I get it. Because I would meet somebody and I would sort of experience them in a shape or a color, and I'd go like, well, that's interesting. And I would say, I actually had a meeting with somebody and I said to the person I was with, like, oh, wow, her energy was like really spiky and prickly, right? And they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, oh, okay. So it was sort of this thing that I was just like living with and didn't really know what it was. But because I'm a painter and I paint, uh, all artists connect to themselves emotionally and they paint what they feel generally, or they connect to the work emotionally and some spiritually, like myself. It really wasn't until I started painting people's energy or spirits that I got that I could use both art and synesthesia together to tell stories about where people are and what's happening with them. So it was kind of a unique discovery, I would say.
Yeah. So when someone comes to work with you, what does that experience look like? How do you meet? How does the kind of start to finish interaction with you look like?
Yeah. So generally, if I'm going to do a spirit portrait for someone, I will get a picture of them just so I can sort of tune into their energy, and I'll sit and meditate a little bit. I have a form that I use that kind of outlines the different energy centers of the body and which colors are associated with which one. And so when I'm tuning into someone's energy, I'll see like, oh, they've got green or they've got pink or what have you, and that'll tell me they're in their heart. And so I'll look into it and go, well, what's going on with their heart? What's happening with them? And I'll write it down. And then I'll start their painting. And everything that happens throughout the painting process is sort of like part of the reading, I would say. So if the paint comes out really quickly and really fast, then I know that they're ready to release something. If it doesn't come out quick, it's stuck. I'm like, oh, they're really feeling blocked or stuck. And the symbols and the forms that come through are telling me something about them that they're ready to release, move on from, or unblock. And so we sort of go on this therapeutic art journey with the spirit portrait as the catalyst to help them unblock or unstick those places where they're really either in transition or feeling really held back, or they're going through some sort of emotional experience like grief or even physical pain or something like that. So it's a whole process of helping them both identify what's the issue and then to move through it, clear it, and find new ways of living that feel healthier and offer them wellness and wholeness in their
Mm,
lives too.
that's so interesting. And I'm just, kind of relating what you're talking about to journeys that I have gone through. And so I'm curious, last year, almost 2 years ago, it must have been now, I started the journey of my ADHD diagnosis. And so it kind of started out as like little breadcrumbs of like, you see on social media and you're like, well, I do that. Oh, well, that sounds like me. And then doing more and more research, I was like, oh, okay. And so I went to my doctor and I started talking to him and I was like, I think I have ADHD and here's what I'm dealing with. And I remember going into my chart after and he had written some notes about how it may be attached to anxiety as well.
Mm,
And I'd always considered myself a very go with the flow person. So they felt anxiety and go with the flow felt mutually exclusive. And so I remember reading it and being like, you don't know me, don't tell, and so I felt very blocked against that being
mm,
true for me. And it wasn't until I started to be more aware of my thoughts and even the words that I would use, like, oh, I'm really anxious about this, or, things like that. And I was like, maybe I do have anxiety, but it's different than the what it looks like in my head. And so do you have people that come to you and you're like, well, it feels really blocked in this area, or I'm seeing this color and this is what I think it means, and they're like, no, it doesn't, you don't know what you're talking about, and just feel very blocked to even getting that feedback.
yeah, yeah, that's thank you for sharing that story. I think that's so common. I have a friend, she's a really, really good friend of mine, and I had done all of these paintings and I had them lined up in the studio and she came over and I was like, yours is in that group over there. And she's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. And she'd pick one up and she's like, oh, this is beautiful. This might be for me. And she'd set it down and she went through all of them and then she got to hers and she goes, oh, this one is definitely not me. And she set it down and I started laughing. I'm like, oh, girl, that was yours. So it was really funny because what happens with a lot of people is that when I show them their portrait, there's almost always a visceral reaction to it. Almost always tears or laughter or whatever it is. It's sort of like your spirit recognizes it and you go, oh my God, that's me. I see myself now in this painting. And, um, and so for her, it was interesting that she sort of rebelled against it. She was like, nope, I don't want to see what's in there. I think, honestly, for a lot of the people that I work with, they almost always know what the block is before I even have to tell them. It's almost like I'm holding up a mirror and saying, this is what I see. Do you see it too? And then they have permission to say, yes, I see it.
Hmm.
Actually, I feel like I've known that that's there for a long time. And
Hmm.
so it's the act of sort of naming it and then helping them sort of gently move through it to release it. But I think that a lot of times we sort of know what is already going on, but we're
Hmm.
almost afraid to acknowledge it because that means we have to do something about it. And so a lot of times the work that we're doing, especially through therapeutic art, is like excavating these long, deep held things about ourselves that we're ready to surface, but it feels a little scary and a little overwhelming. And that's why I think art and color are such a gentle way to help you sort of go, okay, if I'm dealing with this anxiety, let me give it a name, let me give it a shape, let me give it color, let me give it form. And then I can acknowledge what it is and figure out how to shift it or at least just even work with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Transitioning a little bit because I do like to talk about how what the experience is when clients work with you, but I also, a lot of why I started this podcast is talk about the messy middle of entrepreneurship. So, as take us a little bit on the journey of how you started out as an entrepreneur.
I um I think I always wanted to be an entrepreneur from the very beginning, or not even an entrepreneur. I think I wanted to be an artist from the very beginning when I discovered that that was something I enjoyed probably when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And I think, having conversations with my parents they're always, so protective and like, you can't do art. You're not going to make any money doing that. Go do something else. And so my dad was like, you'd be great at human resources. You should go do HR. And I was like, sounds good. And so I did. I went to college for HR and minored in art. So art was sort of like always kind of hanging out here. But I went and worked at a bank and a video game company and an advertising agency. And I did human resources in these very creative spaces. And I was sort of reaching this point in my life where I was just deeply unhappy with every facet of everything, and no amount of time off or vacation or spiritual retreat anywhere, and nothing was going to fix it. It was like my spirit was tired. And so I was working with a spiritual teacher at the time, and she said to me, I had just gotten my coaching certification, and she was like, so what do you think about this coaching thing? And I was like, I don't know, I really like it. It's great. She's like, mm-hmm. What else do you, she was kind of like, what else are you interested in? And I was kind of stuck, and she's like, think about your childhood. What did you enjoy doing? And I was like, oh, I loved art. I loved creating. I loved making music. Everything creative expression was me. I loved it. And she was like, that's your gift. That's what you're here to do. And it was almost like a light bulb went off, and I went, oh. And so I started painting, and I started realizing that I could see color around people. It was like once I opened the door, things started to open up for me. And in my office, I would have crystals on my desk, and I'd have a salt lamp, and my space started to feel more like a healing room than it did an HR office. And people
Mm-hmm.
would come in and talk to me. And at some point, I decided I would start to do color readings for them, even though they weren't really aware of what I was doing. I was just kind of encouraging them through different questions or observations. And then I got my first art show, and I got a promotion on the same day. And I was really irritated. I was so mad. I was so mad. And I was like, what is happening? Like this
Yeah.
feels like mixed signals. And
The
so
universe was like tempting you, like, which way do you really want to go?
that's
Here's your
exactly right.
opportunity to pick.
That's exactly right. It was like they handed me two menus, and they were like, you decide. And I remember going to bed that night, and I was so flipping excited about the art show. And I was so frustrated about the promotion, because the promotion just took me further into pain. And the art show took me further into freedom. And even though it was really scary, I sort of decided at that point that I needed to follow the path that felt the most um, expansive to me, and that the path that felt the most restrictive and tight was the one I needed to let go of. And so I started building my art business from there, and it's evolved over time. But that was really when I decided I got to get out of here. I have to do this for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's really cool, and I hear this in so many entrepreneurs' journeys, just to kind of reflect this back to you of like, you needed someone to say, like, what this is. You know where you're supposed to go, but you need permission yourself. And you got that permission from your coach. And um and so you got that permission, and now you are able to give that permission to others,
Yeah.
like before, like they know what it is. They just need that mirror held up to say, here's what it is,
That's exactly right.
And
Yeah.
so many entrepreneurs are helping earlier versions of themselves,
Mm,
and it kind of sounds like that's what you do as well, which is
yes.
really cool.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Because I always say, like, the things that we experience, they're meant to help us grow, but they're also meant for us to be able to reach our hand back and pull somebody else along. So I love what you just said about we're helping earlier versions of ourselves. And I think that's so true. I think that
Yeah.
is so true. Yeah.
So being an entrepreneur is it can be very challenging, and it's very reflective of things that we need to work on ourselves. And I think that an added layer onto that is doing something in a space that people would consider kind of woo woo,
Mhm.
which is what your I think that your business falls into that category. And so, how do you manage that? Like, tell us about what that looks like for you.
Oh my gosh, that's a really great question. I think that now it's easier in some ways because of how mainstream certain what would you would consider woo topics are becoming with podcasts like Maya Bialik's Breakdown or the telepathy tapes, where people are exploring these topics in the mainstream now, which is awesome. That's amazing. I think it's hard enough to be an artist in the world because
Yeah.
there are so many preconceived ideas about artists and the starving artists and all of that. Um, I I struggle with this, and I was just talking to my coach about this the other day. She said, "You don't need to fully explain how your gift works or what you see. You just need to help people understand the transformation that you take them through."
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes get stuck in the space of, well, if you have somebody who can say to you, I'll help you earn your first $10,000 in a month as a business owner, there's something tangible to attach to. As an entrepreneur, you go, oh, that's great. I would love to earn $10,000. I can say yes and sign up for that. When you say to somebody, I'm going to help you feel better or
Mm-hmm.
heal through art, it's so intangible. And so you go, well, what is that about? But really, it's the same thing. It's you're changing somebody's life through a vehicle. And so, what I'm learning is how powerful this work is with people in a way that is fully transformative, changing the way you communicate, the way you show up, the way that you develop or stand in relationships, the confidence that you get through uncovering and looking at yourself in a different way. And for me, that starts with color. And I think color is a language that we all speak. And it's a very simple, easy way to connect to your spirituality. I call it like it's like the gateway drug of spirituality. It's kind of like crystals. Everybody loves colorful rocks, and you're like, oh, that's cool. I can get behind that. Color's sort of like that too, and art is sort of like that too. You're like, oh, that's easy. I know what that is. I'll give it a shot, and then you're amazed at how actually better you feel after you've spent some time allowing yourself to explore what comes up for you.
Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. And so, one of the things when I was kind of going through your social media and your website, the word alignment kept coming up. And so, talk to us about what like alignment means to you, and kind of the transformation people see when they do have more alignment in their life and their business and their, just their being.
Mm-hmm. This is one of those things that feels so complicated, but at the end of the day, it's kind of pretty simple when you can just sort of sit with yourself and feel into your feelings. We don't do that enough. We're so busy, and I know everybody says this, but we consume so much. We don't even give ourselves 5 minutes of quiet time to just sit and reflect on something or to just sit and feel our way into how something actually makes us feel. Perfect example is honoring how you feel in your body when you receive information, news, or an offer. For me, the fact that I got the solo show and the promotion on the same day, that solo show didn't come with a huge increase, but the promotion did. And
Mm-hmm.
when I sat with it, I really did feel, oh my gosh, that promotion just means more responsibility, more late nights, more emails, more going to Disney World and checking my phone constantly. It means more attention. And I could feel that in my gut, in my solar plexus, that tightness. And then when I thought about the show, I was like, oh my gosh, I get to put my work up. I get to go to an opening. I get to talk to people about color. I get to be in the space. It feels big. It feels expansive. That's alignment. When you can really look at it and go, how does this make me feel It makes you feel expansive, excited, and a little bit like Ian Van Sant says, if you have a little bit of pee running down your leg, that's that good scared, that's alignment. Um, if it feels tight, restrictive, worrisome, causes you that panic, panic at the disco, I say, it's probably not aligned with you. Probably
Yeah.
not.
Yep. Yeah, there's so much that's thrown at us that you're right. We don't take, especially because we don't take time to sit and like you said, understand how we feel. And there are so many things that society tells us are important, which actually aren't, and especially in certain seasons of your life. Like, if you're in a season of life where you're going to Disney World and on email, like that's a bigger impact um, than we really take account for.
For
Um,
sure.
so this was really, really great. We are running up right on our time, but I could talk forever about this stuff. So thank you, Heather. But are you ready for lightning round questions?
I'm ready.
All right. What is a must read book?
Oh, The Secret Language of the Body.
Okay. What does creativity mean to you?
Anything that makes you feel good and lights you up.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh my gosh. Look at yourself as a child. What were you interested in then? That's probably unlocking what you're here to do.
Hmm. Yep. Before we get all that pressure and inputs and yep.
Mm-hmm.
What is something that's on your bucket list?
Italy.
Okay. Awesome. And what is the coolest shit you've done in the last year or are currently working on?
I went to France in January for an artist residency for 2 whole weeks, and it was a life-changing experience. I think about it every single day.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Have you watched that TV show with Zoe Saldana where she's the artist and goes to Italy to do the
No.
from scratch? It's called.
Okay.
It's amazing, but bring like four tissue box for the season. Holy smokes. But it's so good.
I'll have to check it out.
But she does an art residency in Italy, and it's really
Oh, cool.
beautiful and hard and has a lot of, you know, family stuff in it too, but it's
Yeah.
it's so good. And it talks a
Awesome.
lot about like choices and what society tells us we should or shouldn't do. So you may
Love
enjoy
that.
that.
Hmm.
Well, Heather, thank you so much. Where can people find you? Where do you show up on the internet?
I'm very active on Instagram, so you can find me over there at Heather Eck Artist, and DM me. Just pop in and say hi. I'd love to connect with people and share color and wisdom. And you can visit my website at heathereck.com. I've got some freebies over there. You can pick up a free guide about color and energy and what your body's communicating to you there too.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining today. This was such a wonderful conversation. And remember, the big dreams and small steps can transform your life.
Thank you so much.